A group affiliated with the Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the suicide blast which killed at least 12 people and wounded 55 others in a suburb of Damascus. The Sunni ISIS group says it was also behind at least 2 other bombings in the district earlier this year that killed more than 150 people. 2 blasts occurred today. The first was a suicide attack at the entrance to the district, and then a car bomb attack in Al-Teen Street, not far from the holiest Shia shrine. Sadly, most of the casualties were women and children who sustained serious injuries. A Dutch woman is being detained in Qatar on suspicion of adultery after she told the police she had been raped. According to her lawyer, the 22-year-old who was on holiday was drugged in a Doha hotel and woke up in an unfamiliar flat where she realized she had been raped. She was arrested in March on suspicion of having sex outside of marriage. She is due to appear in court on Monday and might also be charged with alcohol-related offences. The alleged rapist is also being held but says the sex had been consensual. It is important to note that it is an offence to drink alcohol or be drunk in public in Qatar, although alcohol is allowed at certain hotels and expatriates can obtain a permit for purchasing alcohol. Now, tomorrow, June 12th, is World Day Against Child Labour. Ahead of the event, the International Labour Organization warns that hundreds of millions of children are at risk of being victims of child labour.
Around the world, about 168 million children are in or at risk of child labor, and current levels of crisis and conflict heighten their vulnerability to exploitation. Thankfully, the International Labour Organization has confirmed that international standards now in place have reduced child labor by about 1/3 in the last decade. Based on this development, employers and businesses commonly expect to eliminate child labor from their supply chains, many of whom work in agriculture, manufacturing and construction industry.
From enterprises, we need a clear message of zero tolerance of child labor. They need to know what is happening in their supply chains and to back that up with action in their business practices and dealings with suppliers.
Businesses can no longer blame governments when child labor has been exposed.
If a business can subcontract its tax affairs to some remote destination, there is no excuse whilst they can't discover in their supply chains where their suppliers are using child labour. The time for excuses is over. The political winds have changed. We have the Ruggie principles in place. We have OECD guidelines in place. We have the conversation here at the ILO on the supply chain. And we simply don't buy the argument that it's all the fault of government.
Nearly 21 million people globally are victims of forced labor, an industry which generates $150 billion a year in illegal profits, and that's according to the International Labour Organization. These children might be employed at the start of the supply chain, forced into mines to extract gold, mica, diamonds and coal, or made to toil in farms to produce commodities such as cotton, sugar, tea, coffee and cocoa. Campaigners trying to combat forced and child labor and poor working conditions have unveiled a variety of approaches they follow to ensure the goods they buy are ethical. Some activists have taken to boycotting certain products, and others only buy brands that have been approved ethically. Some source alternative goods locally, while others have chosen simply to reduce their overall consumption.
Time for the day's business news now with Ayotunde Balogun.
Yes, indeed, it's time for sports news right about now. Former Super Eagles coach Amodu Shaibu has been laid to rest in his hometown, Ukbila, in Edo State. The 58-year-old died in the early hours of today. Our sports correspondent, Austin Okonakwan, chronicles the life and times of the late NFF technical director.
No, never say that. He has this can-do spirit. And each time you are going to go to a match with him, he believes he was going to come out victorious. He will never waver.
That was the voice of Coach Amodu Shaibu. He was paying tribute to his late friend and colleague Stephen Keshi.
There's no football here.
3 days after, he passed away. Born April 1958, Amodu Shaibu took charge of the Super Eagles for the first time in 1994 at the age of 36. The Okpela-born tactician returned to take charge of the team in 1999, 2001 to 2002, and 2008 to 2010.
Best moment of the game, arguably, for Shaibu Amodu.
He qualified the Super Eagles for the FIFA World Cup in 2002 and 2010, but did not lead the team to the finals.
The fact that it happened again means that it may still happen again. We, as a nation, must ask ourselves, what do we want for ourselves?
Amadu's coaching exploits was fought in club football after he led BBC Lions of Boko to win the Nigeria FA Cup in 1989, making it the first time a team from northern Nigeria will triumph in the competition in 36 years. When he left BBC Lions, Amodu led El Kanemi Warriors to win the FA Cup. Till date, he remains the most decorated coach in Nigeria FA Cup history, having won it in 1989, 1992, 93, and 94.
His death is a loss to the nation. My condolence to his family. We all miss his wealth of experience.
One of the things I will always remember, very important, is just that it brings forth one of the best players. And his record so far, for me, is one of the best as well.
It's indeed a period of grief for the Nigerian football family. The prayer is that all the sweet memories Amodu left behind will bring some comfort. Austin Okonakwan, Channels Television News.
On the Nigeria Football Federation, the NFF has described the late Amodu Shaibu as the man whose name is synonymous with the Super Eagles, in acknowledgement of the tactician's four-time stint with the Nigerian senior team. The former BCC Lions, El Kanemi Warriors, Shooting Stars and Orlando Pirates tactician died in the early hours of today after complaining of chest pains on Friday. In a press statement, the Federation confirmed the late coach is a major contributor to football development in the country. Amodu Shaibu was buried, or has since been buried, in his hometown of Ukbila. Now, Golden Eaglet head coach Manu Garba has suspended the ongoing screening of aspiring talents into the under-17 national team after news broke that NFF's technical director Shaibu Amodu had died. It was a sober moment as players and officials mourned the death of another high-ranking football personality following the death of Stephen Keshi. Garba explained that Amodu's death was not only tragic but a personal loss to him because it was under the watch of the late Super Eagles coach that he captained and won the FA Cup with El Kanemi Warriors. The screening will resume on Monday at the FIFA Goal Project in Abuja. South African Paralympic athlete Oscar Pistorius will appear in court on Monday, June the 13th, for a sentencing hearing over the murder of his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp some 3 years ago. The double amputee killed Steenkamp in the early hours of Valentine's Day in 2013, saying he mistook her for an intruder when he fired 4 times through the door of his bedroom toilet. In March, Pistorius' lawyers filed in their legal bid to reverse a Supreme Court of Appeal judgment that upgraded his original conviction from culpable homicide to murder. He was released from jail in October 2015 to live under house arrest at his uncle's mansion in Pretoria after serving 1 year of his 5-year sentence. England's Masters winner Danny Willett will tee off at next week's US Open alongside 2011 champion Rory McIlroy. Defending champion Jordan Spieth joins fellow American Zach Johnson, who won the Open last year at St Andrews, and US amateur winner Bryson DeChambeau. American Phil Mickelson joins England's Justin Rose, who beat him to the title in 2013, and Sweden's Henrik Stenson. Six-time runner-up Mickelson needs to win the US Open to complete the career Grand Slam, having already won 3 Masters titles, 1 Open and 1 US PGA Championship. Australian world number 1 Jason Day will tee off with compatriot Adam Scott and the South African Louis Oosthuizen. England's former world number 1s Lee Donald and Lee Westwood make up a group with Germany's Martin Keimer. And Steph Curry scored 38 points to help Golden State Warriors beat Cleveland Cavaliers 108-97 points and open a 3-1 lead in the best-of-7 NBA Finals series. The NBA's most valuable player hit 7 3-point baskets to put the Warriors on the brink of winning successive titles. No side has come back from 3-1 down to win the finals, and Golden State have home advantage for Monday's Game 5. Curry, who averaged 16 points in the first 3 games of the series, scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. And that's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. The news at 10 continues shortly.
And that was Sports News with Ayotunde Balogun and not Business News. And the main news again. The Nigerian Army has retired several senior officers for their roles in the 2015 general elections and other service exigencies. Those retired were mainly Major Generals, Brigadier Generals, Colonels, Lieutenant Colonels, and a Major. Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode has appointed 57 sole administrators for the state's 27 local government areas and 37 local council development areas, pending the conduct of elections at the councils. The 57 sole administrators will be sworn in on Monday, June 13th, at the banquet hall of the Lagos House in Ikeja. And at least 12 people have been killed in a suicide bomb attack on a suburb of Damascus, which is home to Syria's holiest Shia shrine. Islamic State group said 3 militants, 2 carrying explosive belts and 1 with a car bomb, carried out the attacks in Sayyida Zainab, 10 kilometers south of the center. And as we go tonight, we leave you with some memorable quotes of late Super Eagles coach Shaibu Amodu. I'm Harriet Agbeni. Have a good night.
If I will keep remaining in football, I will so speak. If I will do it here or outside the country, I will so speak. If I have to go back to the roots and develop young kids, I will so speak. Strategy or no strategy, I don't think it's a responsibility that I alone can afford to carry. I do not want to play a hero here by saying I feel vindicated. I think the best judges are Nigerians so far. We know that we are in for a very difficult battle. The truth is that we must encourage ourselves, we must believe in ourselves, and we must be patient with ourselves. We are determined that nothing should stand on our way. Until we as Nigerians start to appreciate ourselves, that what we think we have in Europe, we also have here, the Nigerian state will never get it right, not only in football.